We are recording this episode off the back of having just been on Marcus Kane's Strong Not Starving podcast. You might remember Marcus, he was on the podcast a few weeks ago, and we are big fans of Marcus. So you might want to check out that episode for a joint interview of the two of us. It's Strong Not Starving, and we are episode 93. We're also looking at doing some more collaborations with Marcus, including something in person in May in Brighton, UK. So drop us an email if you would like to be one of the first to know about that event. Now let's get on with our New Year's episode.
Woo, we got a doozy of an episode for you coming up.
That was like your radio voice. I liked it. I'm
Really?
here for it. Yeah.
Oh.
That was like a real radio voice then. We're recording this introduction separately, which we don't do very often. And why are we doing that, Stefanie?
Because it went awry.
We're not quite
We're not sure
what...
if this is a value. Okay.
No.
We're going to say right now that it might not be a value. And you can skip to the end to get to any semi good stuff. However, in case you don't make it to the end, we did want to let you know that the next 4 episodes of this podcast beginning in January, the 3rd of January is the first Wednesday it will come out. We're going to be doing a back to basics series, going back to the basics of what we talk about and what.
What do we talk about again? I'm sorry, listener. Steph and I think we're just a bit delirious. But going back to what Stefanie was trying to communicate to you is that throughout January, we're going to do 4 back to basic episodes. Because Steph and I, we like to go in to depth and the nuances and the ins and outs of everything. And I think sometimes when people are, especially quite early on in their journey, might be missing some of the basic foundational principles that underpin a lot of what Steph and I talk about. And for those of you who perhaps have been in recovery for a while, it will be a great refresher as well.
Yeah.
And so we're going to look at some of the basics, foundational stuff of disordered eating and body image distress.
So we're going to have it in 4 episodes. Do I have a problem? Why do I have a problem? A recovery toolbox. And then the process of recovery. These are the overarching themes that we're going to revisit. I think it's relevant for kind of newbies and old bees alike. Back to basics to me is a very valuable thing to do in general. So that's what we're offering in January. So in case you do not make it past minute 5 of this particular episode, please know that that's coming. Please come back.
Yeah, we've got some good stuff coming for you. So I'm going to optimistically say we hope you enjoy this episode.
I have to say, I want to let you take the lead on this beginning episode because I don't know that I've done much reflecting yet. I don't tend to. I really actually don't. And if you've heard our episodes in the past, you're usually more of a this time of year reflector, and I'm not. It makes me nervous.
Makes you nervous to reflect.
Mm-hmm. Just the expectation to reflect at this time of year makes me feel rebellious. Mm-hmm. So I don't want to reflect at all. I just want to project. No, okay. I don't want to do that either. I don't. I'm kidding. Because that's also this time of year expectation. I just want to be so present, Sarah.
I was going to say,
thinking.
I was going to say that. You're just so in the moment. You can't help it.
I can't help it. But I just mean in terms of yearly ends and beginnings. But I'll do it for you, Sarah. I'll do some reflecting and I'll do some projecting in the name of this episode.
Well, at the end of 2022, we picked our words for the year. Do you remember?
I do.
What was your word?
Window? Wasn't it window?
Yeah, because it was opportunity. Yeah. Mm-hmm. How are you feeling about that as a word as we're nearing the end of 2023?
Interestingly, I feel more in touch with the word of the year before. So I might be on a bit of a delay.
Remind us what the word of the year before
that word was travel and connection, through travel and connection. The two were linked in my mind. I saw myself on airplanes, but in a connected sort of both to myself and to others capacity, which yes, I think that this year was more in line with that actually. Opportunity and the window of opportunity thing I thought I might have a book done by now, Sarah. I thought I might have a book done by now.
Maybe your word for next year should be writing, and then you'll have a book.
Is that how it's done?
I think so.
I don't want to. Okay. I don't know that that's appropriate for right now. I don't know that that's what I feel. I'd love to write a book, but you need time to write a book. And I don't feel like that's where my energy is I'm not invested in creating time for that.
I've had this nagging feeling for the last month or two about writing, don't mean to brag, but a second book. And there have been a few occasions where people have sent me messages and asked and mentioned it. And I keep interpreting them as signs and little prompts to maybe start. And something that I have realized, and I was thinking about it when someone said, you put all this information on YouTube and it needs to be in a book because your thinking has moved on a lot from your book, which it has. It's evolved. I still stand by everything I wrote in the book as well, and some. And I thought about that and I was like, yes, she's right. This is my sign. I need to write. And then I was thinking about it today and I thought, actually, I find writing quite disconnecting because I have to disconnect from everything in order to be able to write. I guess I have to connect to myself and my ideas, but there's a withdrawal that happens. And so it's like I have to be in a very, or I feel like I need to be in a very specific mood, emotional state. Everything has to be just so. And I don't think that that's necessarily realistic. I feel like this is something I might need to reframe and change if I want to do another book. Mm-hmm. Whereas when I create a video, I feel very connected. Just making my videos really gives me a mood boost for the rest of the day. It just does before I've even posted it. So it's not about putting it out there and getting feedback, just in the creation of it.
Yep.
It boosts me.
Yes. And I agree. I think if I feel the same way about my current work is fulfilling and I would have to disconnect from it to write a book. And I don't want to right now. I think this idea of opportunity that I had last year was more about, because I think at the time I had two, I don't know, tell me what you think of this. I'd had two book publishers contact me. One was like they did like a hybrid publish where I don't even understand. And then the other one was like a big publisher. I'm sorry, let me clarify. It's not like I was approached by a big publisher. It was a woman who follows me, who works for a very big publishing company, very well known. And she said, I think you should write a book. Let me give you, this is how it would work. And those I took as signs as well. And I was like, let me look for the opportunity. And I think in my mind, the opportunity is that feeling you're talking about of like, when I feel like I'm ready to make room for that, I want to take it, but I haven't felt that yet. Like I've gone through this whole year and felt like, nope, at no point do I feel like that's what I need to do now. I'm still going to stay open to it and I'm going to let the word roll over as far as like, if that does come up, but it just hasn't yet for a reason. I think I'm just, what is going on for me right now feels fulfilling, but it's still a goal of mine to write a book.
See, my concern is that I do exactly that and I'm waiting for it to feel like the right time, and it just won't, because it wasn't like last time it felt like the right time. There were certain things that came together, but ultimately I signed up to a coaching program and I had 12 months to write the book. So there was this pressure, time pressure on there, this accountability. The actual writing of the book itself, I did in 2 months because I just shut myself away from the world and I only saw my clients and wrote my book. That was it. Then it took more months and whatever to edit than it did to even write it. But those 2 months, I felt so in flow. But it wasn't a case of, oh, I feel in flow, so now I'm going to take these 2 months to write. I had to start writing then, and I just happened to be able to fall into some kind of state. So sometimes I'm thinking I'm waiting for something to hit me, and it could be about making some space for it.
I'm going to disagree with you here. For myself, I feel like when it's time, I do know. And like, I will feel like it's time. I'm not saying I'll feel like doing it, because I won't, but I will feel like it's time now to make room. And I don't feel like that yet.
Yeah, okay, no, I agree with you. I do agree. I think I was expecting to feel like doing it, to suddenly feel a state of flow before I've even started anything to put me in a state of flow.
I think I'll still be like, but I think I'll feel more of a like, this is the time to transition into like pulling back on my current work and moving into creating space for that to happen. And I just not there yet. I think I have been like, I've built a course this year and I have done some other things this year, and those have it's felt like time to do those things, like the nervous system course. I've wanted to do that for a while. And that felt like this is the time. And I pulled out, I'm no longer running my binge eating course, which I'd run for 2 years straight. And I was like, I knew it was time to stop that and to make this. And that felt, again, I'm still like, oh, making it, building it is hard and scary, but it was time. And I knew that. So I do believe in my like capacity to feel that. And the book just hasn't occurred yet.
Do you think this is really boring for people to listen to?
Was totally just wondering the same thing.
You and I go, right, so what are our career goals? Oh, let's create this, let's create that.
We can edit it down a lot. We can.
I just think if anybody has got it to this point, you must be a real fan of the show, because it's going to be me and Steph talking about ourselves, not offering our wisdom to you.
And I don't know how many people are trying to write a book. Wait, takeaways. Let's generalize.
Yeah. Well, let's go back to. No, go on. Do you want to generalize something we said so far?
No. People can do that. People are smart here. People know how it applies to their unique situation or not.
Yeah. My word for this year was risk, if you remember. And that word came to me on the podcast. So it was very much this felt sense. And I think I might have said it at the time, or I said it maybe afterwards on a community call, that, sorry, it's going to sound really wanky, but that word chose me. I didn't choose it. I was just sitting there and the word came to me. It arrived. It wasn't like I was going through words and then picked that one and was like, that one.
Can I just tell you something real quick? Do you play Wordle?
Yes.
And you know how I think we shared this with each other, like you play the same word every time?
No.
Right? So it's the starting word?
No.
Oh, you don't. Okay. So a lot of people do that. And I refuse. I have to like guess the word every time because I'm convinced that the word will come to me. And the other day it did. And I guessed, and that was the word. And it only happened once.
What was the word, out of curiosity? Do you remember? You can't remember?
No. But it was it was a word like think. It was a word like that. Or like crack.
Think or crack. One of those two. I remember think being up actually not that long ago.
Oh, well, that maybe I don't think crack was. So it was something like think.
And you didn't send it to me to tell me so that I could celebrate with you.
Oh, no, I didn't. Okay. We digress.
Yeah,
Risk chose you.
Risk chose me. And at that time, I had no idea that I was going to go off and be a digital nomad for several months. That was a decision that I came to, I think, around January time, because the break clause was coming up on my tenancy. And I was just fed up of spending as much money as I was on rent in London. So I left London. And then whenever I tell people about those 6 months, and I'm summarizing and I say, yeah, I was nomading for 6 months and I was in New York for a couple of months and I'd spent a month in India. It sounds amazing. It sounds like, wow, you did that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it was pretty tough. And I feel really ungrateful for saying that.
It was still amazing.
Only on paper, really. Yeah. Maybe. I don't know. I felt in New York, I felt very disconnected.
I know.
In India, it was just tough. I was just in pain every single day. It's just been tricky. And I was talking to a friend about it, and she was saying, you're just so lucky that you have the kind of work that you can be anywhere. There was this impulse in me to say, yes, but with that comes blah, blah, blah. And I stopped myself because I thought, no, I'm lucky to have the choice because I don't have to go off and go to various places. There is an element of that is, it's partly lucky as in, it feels like I hear it, okay? It feels like it should be a benefit to be able to be anywhere. But then I'm left with going, well, I don't know where I want to be. And I don't know where I feel like I belong. And I don't know where it feels like home. And if I had the kind of job that I was seeing people in person, so I had to be at an office or be somewhere, like there's somewhere then that I'm supposed to belong. So my word for 2024 is home. And that's a feeling of home, not a building or a place. I just want to feel like I have steady feet.
What does that feel like? Like what makes that so?
Well, I think I shared it on the podcast at the time that when I left my place in Chiswick back in March, I was feeling really unanchored and I'd had boxes everywhere and I hadn't been able to do my yoga, and then half the kitchen stuff had been packed up and everything was just feeling unsettled. I was feeling quite anxious and scared about going away and not having a home. And then when I left, I went down to Bournemouth. I went to a friend's house. She had a spare room that was completely empty. I don't know why. That just made it even better. And I rolled my yoga mat out and I got on my yoga mat that first night after leaving London, and I felt that feeling of home. And it was inside me all along.
Ruby slippers.
But I can't just conjure it at will. I can't just decide to feel it and go there. Sometimes it's like it comes to me, and other times, a lot of the time, it feels quite elusive. I just get glimpses of it.
Well, when was the last time that it existed in any kind of consistent way?
I've been thinking about this, and I think it might be pre-pandemic.
Oh.
I think that's where it started. The pandemic hit, and then everything about my work situation changed for the better, really. And then I left London for a year during the pandemic, and then I came back, but I came back to a different part of London. And yeah, since then, not having a place that I have to be means I don't know where I want to be.
Is that part of what, like, is that part of what you crave in any way? Like to have an office space or
I'm craving like in-person contact. That's what I'm craving.
Work-wise or anything wise? Because you do socialize and you had,
Yeah, I am social. And I do have, I have people in my life my friends tend to be quite spread out. So wherever I am, it often sounds like I have a lot of people in my life, and I do to some degree because I'm pretty extrovert, but they're all spread out. So a lot of them is not, even those are not necessarily in-person contact for most of the time.
Yeah.
But I think I would like, from a work perspective, to have more in-person stuff, because I want to do in-person stuff that feels meaningful to me. I'm not saying socializing isn't, but in a different kind of way. So I probably said this to you at the time, because I've said this to a lot of people. But there is a addiction treatment center in Thailand. I told you about this addiction treatment center in Thailand?
No.
Okay. And it is run by a guy from London who he got sober. He went to Thailand to stay at some monastery with the monks. And he was talking to the monks about how he wanted to run an addiction center. And they gave him the monastery. They signed it over to him.
Wow.
And he opened up this addiction center there now that he runs. And I felt like those 6 months of digital nomading, I was just wandering the planet looking for somebody to give me like a retreat center or something. And I was even in a cafe once in Chiswick before I left, and this guy was talking, I was eavesdropping on a conversation. He was talking to this woman about buying this chateau in France, and he wanted to do mental health retreats and stuff like that. And I don't normally do this, but I just went over and started talking to him. I was like, hi, this is who I am. I was just hearing this and I was really intrigued. And he was showing me pictures and stuff like that. And we had a good chat about it. But the more we spoke, it was like he wasn't going to buy it, I don't think. This was kind of this like fantasy thing he had. But there were so many obstacles in the way that it wasn't actually going to happen. But this conversation occurred just before I went off on my 6-month digital nomad thing. And I saw it as a sign of like, this is everywhere. You just need to look out for it. And then you will find the thing that you're looking for.
I remember you like looking for it. I think I remember you saying something to this in this regard, like you were waiting for that opportunity to just.
I think I thought I was going to meet some people or find a project or something to be involved in, something that involves. I went to a YouTubers networking event in New York when I was there, and I was surprised at the number of people I spoke to there who had a team or who were part of a team. And I was like, I want to be part of a team. I don't want to hire a team. I don't want to be the boss of the team. I want to be part of a collaborative team.
Yeah, it's like you need a work yoga mat, like somewhere that you show up, so people and I don't know, a place, but that you show up to every day.
Yeah. Yes.
That you can rely on every day. I like the team idea. That piqued my interest when you said that. I'm thinking about that.
Yeah. Maybe I should hire someone.
To do what? Like,
I don't know.
Here we go. We're not. We can talk about this post production. I feel like we're gonna be like strategizing. To be irrelevant to everyone.
It's about finding where I belong. And I was saying to Stef just before the podcast, I've actually signed up to see a new therapist on Monday because I fancy having a bit of space to process and just try and make some decisions and figure some things out. So I'm not going back to my old therapist, great as he was. I just want to try someone brand new. For me, a therapist, I want somebody who is not out there on social media, who is not in any of the therapist Facebook groups. I want someone like nondescript in the background. That's what I've always gone for. But this time, I'm going to try something different. So she has a podcast and she puts herself out and all that. She's American, but she lives in the UK. And we'll see.
Okay.
I'll keep you updated.
Will you?
If you want to be.
Okay. So home is your word.
That's my word. What about you, Steph?
I don't know. I don't know. I don't like it. I feel a lot of resistance about having a word, but let me think.
Don't have a word then.
Well, then I just got resistance about I knew you were going to say that. And then that's why I was like, let me have a think because I don't want you to exclude me from having a word.
I'm not excluding you from nothing. You're projecting now.
I know. I just don't want to be tied down by a word.
Yeah, it'd be terrible to have been tied down by opportunity all year, wouldn't it?
No. Tied down by the fact that it did not arrive in the way that you know what I mean? It's kind of like, did I fail 2023 because I had
do you
the
feel
word?
like that?
No, but I feel like when I think of it in the context of the word, I do. But like, not really. I don't actually feel like I failed. I just feel like, no, that just wasn't applicable.
Yeah.
So what's the point? If your word's not applicable, who cares? Like, why do you make one? I feel like things are going to unfold the way they're going to unfold anyway. You know what I mean? That's, I think, the resistance I have about this. It's just like, I can say a word, but really what's going to happen for me will just not depend anything to do with the word.
I don't see it as being about anything happening. I see it as a gentle intention, as I think. As in, where do I want my focus to be this year? So if I get to the end of next year and I'm still got this feeling of homelessness, I would prefer not to just because I don't really want it, but it wouldn't mean anything about the fact I chose the word to me anyway.
Okay, well, fine. If you take the pressure off, then gosh, I wish we did this episode live so we could get ideas from other people.
No, it needs to come from you, Steph. It needs to come from your
soul. Yeah, but I'm a multi-choice kind of person, like multiple choice. I mean, I know it when I see it. Don't necessarily know that I could generate it by myself. Let's throw some words out there and let's see if what resonates and what doesn't. I'll feel it in my body.
Creativity.
No.
Risk.
No.
Boldness.
Nah, no, it's not it.
Passion.
No, that's not it. I already got that.
Silliness.
That one hits a little different.
Okay. Relax.
No.
Wonder.
No.
Partnership.
No.
Pause.
No.
Allyship.
No.
Appreciation.
No.
Bloom.
Maybe something like that. Bloom is my favorite so far.
Okay, good. Glorious.
No.
Grace.
No.
I like that one. Growth.
No.
Harmony.
No.
Heart.
What?
I said heart. I didn't hear anything.
Yes, I wrote it.
Oh, did you? I can't see because I'm looking at the thing. I just Integrity.
No.
Light.
Yeah.
What does that word mean to you?
Light. Buoyant.
Okay. Just curious because obviously there's lots of different ways of
That's true.
that.
Yeah.
Learning.
No.
Well, that surprises me because I knew.
I mean, I do anyway. I think a lot of these I'm rejecting because I feel like, that's always there. It's not something new. I want it to be something new, like a different.
Oh, what new?
Okay, we're hitting on something. I feel like new and bloom are related, and I like those. And I keep having imagery come into my mind when these words come up, which is the weirdest thing.
What kind of imagery?
Okay, so very concrete imagery. So I don't wear makeup. I'll put some blush on. I put mascara on, I guess, when I'm going out once in a blue moon. But I don't like it. And lately I have been scrolling my social media and they're throwing me makeup tutorials. these things where people be like, get ready with me, which I could never do a get ready with me because it takes me, I would say half a sentence and I'd be done. But people spend so much time, and they're doing these things where like, first of all, I thought it was a joke the first time I saw it. People, I'm sure listening, know how to do this. I don't know how to do this. And they put these big dots and then they blend them. And it's a whole art form. And I typically am just like, I just don't have time for that. Like, I don't have an interest in that. It's just never been my thing. But I've been watching it. I've been watching the way that people do it. And I've been fascinated by it. Like it's very intriguing to me to watch. And then I was like, what do I have? And I just started playing with it. And I was like, this is kind of fun. So this imagery is coming to my mind. I have no interest in like becoming some kind of makeup hound or anything in 2024, but there's something about exploring things that don't necessarily match up or have not as of yet matched up with my identity that are just fun and light and also have a different meaning perhaps than I have previously associated with them. So makeup, I've literally been experiencing it as just this creative, almost fun, almost artistic. And also something of it feels light in that it's like something totally new to think about. Just like, I don't know. I've been spending time watching this and it's just not, I'm usually so intense and I'm like not looking at stuff like that. And it's just lighter. And that I think is why that word maybe, I don't know. It's just this idea of mundane things or new things or just, I don't know, exploring different things that I'm not going to make a podcast about. You know what I mean? That aren't that serious. And there's something about that feels like a blooming to me. There's something about that feels like a part of me that I have just not tapped into really lately, especially. That sounds I kind of like the vibe.
Is that like playfulness?
So I think that's why silly came up. Yes, it's something lighter.
So light then perhaps is the closest we've got.
Yeah, I keep saying that, don't I? Yeah, light. Oh, but you know what?
What happened scared then? Of it. You're scared of because if you get to the end of the year and it's just been a heavy time.
No, because what if I like it too much? Then it's like, well, then I won't be heavy anymore. And that to me feels like that's who I am, though. I am heavy and I am intense. And if I get too light, I'm gonna lose vigilance.
Yeah. Lose your gravitas, your sense of,
I
yeah.
don't like that.
Yeah. Good point. Very good point. I would do it.
You've been listening to me, Sarah, and you know my rebel response.
No.
Well played. No, maybe the goal then, maybe the idea is lightness in weaving lightness. It doesn't need to be everything, just lightness, like folding some in.
Yeah. I don't know what this episode is.
Nope. I feel like the people who will be listening to this episode are the 5 people who care about you and I as people, just interested in us as people.
You mean we're actually going to put this episode out?
I mean, it could be a bonus.
Yeah.
We basically just used it to further our own like
a bonus episode through your loyalty. We're going to give you this episode here that is
all about us.
Really, yeah, exactly. You are welcome. Say something about body image. Go.
Okay. I think that this does have to do with that to some extent. What I'm talking about anyway. I have to go back to home. I think home could too.
Yeah, totally.
To me, there's something about allowing yourself to move away from thinking about this stuff so much that it brings a lightness to living. That I wrote my Wednesday weekly email on this yesterday. It's like this permission to disengage from all the podcasts and all the books and all the social media accounts and to not always be filling your mind with it all the time and to just let yourself be like lighter and to think about makeup.
Yeah.
Or whatever. Maybe you shouldn't do that if you're still having body image issues. Yeah, just the other things about us, the other things we want to cultivate in our lives besides just recovery.
And also this idea that the things we're doing are supposed to have great meaning and significance. I don't know if you feel that at all.
Yeah.
And so the idea of doing something that's just light, just because it's light and it's fun and it might feel a bit silly, just to have that as an experience is allowed, and more than allowed, can be part of thriving.
Yes. That's funny. I screenshotted this thing. It was by Existential Memes is the name of the account. And it says, oh, it's going to curse. I'm going to curse. If I don't curse, it's going to take away from it. So you have to give a trigger warning.
It's not a trigger warning. You have to mark it as explicit on Libsyn.
That's what I have to do. I will do it. I cannot stress enough how important it is to do silly, frivolous bullshit that serves no other purpose than making you happy. I have that saved here, so I must have saved it for a reason, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Look at that.
Look at the signs pointing to this.
Frivolous bullshit.
Can I have 2 words, please?
My word for the 2024 is frivolous bullshit.
Yeah. I think it should be. I think it's almost, it's because it's more frivolous to call it frivolous bullshit than to call it light. Even light sounds very more profound in some way.
Okay, well, thank you for walking me here.
Yeah,
we got there.
Yeah.
I wonder what next year as we recap how that went.
Yeah.
It could be an interesting episode.
Well, even what we will have done next year as well, because this was the year we did London, we did New York, we did Dublin, listener events in these 3 places. So maybe we'll come to a country near you next year.
What's a frivolous country?
I don't know. You might offend people if you call their country frivolous.
I don't really consider any country frivolous.
Yeah.
You know what? I have to say, I think that this energy that I'm just now feeling can be really scary when you are anxious, because it's by nature the opposing part of the nervous system. You cannot be silly and light and funny and when you're hypervigilant.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it feels like you're leaving. Wait, you need to be over here.
Yeah. You're giving up your vigilance.
It's good. Yeah, maybe I'm ready for this.
Yeah. Oh, I'm excited for you, Stef.
Yeah. It's like uncloaking another version of myself right before your eyes.
Yeah. I hope I like the other version.
See? That's reinstilling the fear.
This is something that's already in you. You're just bringing her out. It's not like you are finding a part of you that has never existed. This part is there. It's just being given some expression.
I know. But to the point of fear, like, it's like, well, will people accept it when they see it? And like, I'm not going to be, I also don't feel like, oh, I'm going to become this radically new human being. It's really more for me.
Yeah. I'm going to be like, sorry, Steph, I just can't get used to your face with eyeliner on. Take it off.
Yeah. Oh boy. Anyhow.
When's the last time you put lipstick on?
I don't wear. That's one thing I just can't wear. I never wear. I think the last time I put it on, to be honest with you, was 2002.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh no, it must have been at a wedding. I'm sure I wore it at a wedding.
I remember a friend of mine once, an old flatmate actually, a few years ago, she'd seen somewhere just this idea of just putting red lipstick on to wear around the house just because it's a fun thing to do. And I remember thinking it was so cool. I did it once or twice, and then the novelty kind of wears off of just wearing lipstick around the house. It's like, okay, this is fun. Look how silly I am.
Try it. Taylor Swift wears very red lipstick.
Yeah. I think it would be fun to put some lipstick
on. If I had some, I would put it on for you right now. I don't have any.
Yeah, that's okay. Next week, whole week. Okay. You'll be at the grocery store before then.
The grocery store. I wouldn't get it at the grocery store, but
wouldn't you?
I will if you want me to. No, I would get it at yeah, it doesn't matter.
This is gold. This episode is absolute gold.
So good. How did we get here? Okay, for a listener who would look at this episode and be like, "Oh, reflections and projections." Is that the name of it?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. Ooh. Let me listen. What might they be expecting to get out of it that would be relevant to invite into the conversation?
I guess it's, what are we inviting other people to think about for themselves? What are the advantages and potential disadvantages as someone who can feel resistance to reflection and projecting to that? Because one, with the projecting, there's definitely a tendency to put pressure on oneself. And even you were feeling that a bit here. So I guess being mindful of that. And if you're going to do this choosing a word thing, or if there are things that you want to focus on the year that will really serve you, and that or ideally not something that's going to reinforce this black and white, all or nothing.
I just had a thought. So we just did that. I did not come into this episode with a word, obviously.
Obviously. I don't think anyone will accuse us of having just,
prepared
that previously.
No one's going to say I prepared. However, I found a lot of value just in that process. So even if it's a daunting task to think about this, if you resonate with me on that even just the process of trying to find something, it could just be it. I even feel like I'm not sure I'm bound to that word, and that kind of doesn't matter, because I feel like what I needed was maybe what this conversation brought up itself was like a starting point of thinking about more than I would have if I hadn't thought about it.
Maybe we could put a link to the website below. I was talking about this with a therapist friend of mine the other day, and she was talking about, well, in January, hopefully by January, I'm going to feel like this, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. And she could kind of see what she was doing, this idea that, okay, I'm just going to write December off, because from January, this is the kind of person that I'm going to be. And this is why I like doing the word, because it is not about a different version of you. It is just about trying to explore something, having an intention of something that feels like you want to value it more, prioritize it more, be a bit more central in your life. For me, I really like the vagueness of that. It's the opposite of a SMART goal, and I love it.
I don't know. I still read it as a little bit boundaried, but I picture like, what's that called when it's like it is a gradient, like the gradient color, or what's the hair thing? Why am I interested in this?
Ombre.
Ombre.
You're all about the beauty stuff today.
What the heck?
That's some frivolous bullshit.
It's the it's the frivolous. Yeah, it's something about, I don't know. Anyway, that sort of picture of like not a new year where you close and open. It's like the gradient of exploring something slowly and in and out gradients. So I guess I would invite the listener to really think about where you were a year ago and where you are now, and to give yourself some credit for that, because growth can happen so slowly that you only might recognize it when you think about,
what if you feel like you're in a worse place a year ago?
Okay.
Yeah. Well,
then come back next year.
Use this as an opportunity to fix yourself.
No, here, I will speak to that. I don't think it's like, are you better off or worse off? It's like, what have you been learning? How have things been changing? Because I absolutely devolved in periods of my life, but learned so much. Yes, maybe behaviorally, there was stuff that was worse, quote unquote, than before. But I don't think there's ever been a period of my life where things have felt really low that I can't say I wasn't growing during that time, or that there weren't things happening. What have you learned over the past year? What have you been working on? What's that angle of it? When you think about yourself last year versus this year, what do you have access to, even just from a psychological perspective, or from a self-compassion perspective, or that feels different than it felt last year?
Good idea. Do that. What Stef said.
Do that. What we'll do, Sarah, is we will tell people that they can fast forward to minute 47 if they want to skip the intro.
It gets good.
It gets good. Episode 47 of this 52-minute episode.
Oh dear. We could probably just edit it down to 15 minutes and have something pretty good, I reckon.
I mean, people will be listening to this the week of, they'll have
between
off
Christmas and New Year. They've got more time.
It'll be great. They'll be so happy to just have some frivolous bullshit to listen to. We're getting so many unsubscribers right now. We're getting some 4-star reviews.
I was going to say, don't review us based on this episode. Goodness sake.
Let us know. How much time has it been?
It's enough time. We must just. It's enough. It's enough.
I think that there will be people who appreciate it. I can think of some in particular in my mind who I think will get a kick out of it.
Okay.
Like my mom. No, I'm just kidding.
She's a devoted listener, isn't she?
No,
I think my sister-in-law will listen as well. She supports. Hey, Kate.
Hey, shout out to any of my cousins listening, who I have a new recent fan base in my cousins, which I learned. I was at a christening with them last weekend, and oh my cousin's kids. One of my cousin's kids listened. I was just very touched by that. I was really touched by that. Hi.
And a shout out to my cleaner who told me that she started listening to the podcast. Hey, Jane. I didn't want to just call her my cleaner. That sounds really
Yeah, I hear you.
and she needed to be named. She's an awesome lady.
Okay, so thanks for listening, and come back and see us, will you?
Yeah. See you in 2024. We've got some good stuff coming. Should we mention
We do.
what we've got
yes,
coming?
let's mention it so that should we do it in the beginning? Let's do it in the beginning.
I think we should record an intro apologizing for
Let's
this.
do it.
Let's record the intro now.
Okay, bye everybody.
Okay, bye. Don't stop recording. Don't stop.
Don't. Okay.